The Council's desperation. A call for help. Captain Logan Simpson strode into the grand amphitheater, his heart heavy with apprehension. This was not just any meeting. It was a desperate plea from the Amper race, a coalition of alien civilizations gathered in one place, united by fear. They were facing an unprecedented threat from the Kryn Dominion, a warlike faction that had already begun its ruthless campaign across their worlds. As he entered, he felt all eyes upon him, their expressions a mix of hope and dread. Logan wore his gray uniform, utilitarian and devoid of embellishments, a stark contrast to the colorful regalia of alien delegates surrounding him. He was not here to negotiate. He was here to fight if it came to that. As he took his place at the center of the chamber, he could sense the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. The Amper delegate, Cygnus, stood at the podium, his voice strained as he addressed the assembly. "Our throne world has not yet fallen," he began, "but our defenses cannot hold out much longer against the Kryn's assault. Their ships eclipse ours in size and power. We need your aid." The reluctant allies. One by one, delegates rose to speak, each offering variations of excuses. Depleted forces, ships needed for their own borders, and an inability to assist in this dire hour. Logan watched as Cygnus's shoulders slumped further with each refusal. It was clear that desperation had driven them here. They were begging for help. Then Cygnus's gaze locked onto Logan's, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "There is one other recourse," he said hesitantly. "Humanity's battleships. A single one could turn the tide against the Kryn." The chamber erupted into chaos at this suggestion. Voices rose in frantic objection. "Absolutely not. We all remember what happened last time. Human ships are too powerful." Their fears echoed through Logan's mind like a haunting refrain from history. The last time humanity had unleashed its might upon the galaxy had left scars that still bled. Memories of destruction. Logan remained impassive as memories flooded back. Monstrous shapes of human dreadnoughts drifting over shattered worlds. Cities melted into glass under their main cannons. Fleets obliterated in an instant by humanity's unyielding firepower. He understood why they feared him. He feared it too. But as he listened to Cygnus plead for help, another thought crept into his mind. If someone didn't stop the Kryn now, they would roll over everything in their path. If unleashing humanity's wrath was necessary to protect innocent lives, then perhaps it was a risk worth taking. Logan stepped forward, silencing the uproar with his presence alone. He met Cygnus's pleading gaze and felt an unfamiliar resolve settle within him. "The human battleship Terror Fury will aid you against the Kryn," he declared firmly. "We will show them what it means to start a war with humanity." A resounding decision. A crack echoed through the council chamber as Logan slammed his fist down on a nearby table, leaving cracks spiderwebbing across its surface. Instantly, silence fell as all eyes turned toward him, a mixture of fear and awe reflected in their expressions. "I will take a battle group to their defense," he continued, his voice steady but laced with steel. "This will not be a full deployment. I'll go personally with a small force and assess the threat." Murmurs ran through the gathered delegates, but none dared challenge him directly. They knew that once humanity set its course, there was no dissuading them from their path. As discussions wound down and delegates began to disperse, Cygnus approached Logan, with gratitude radiating from him despite an undercurrent of unease lingering behind his eyes. "You have my deepest thanks, Captain," he said earnestly. "I know your people's history makes this difficult." Logan brushed off his thanks with a curt nod. He didn't want to dwell on bloody memories that haunted him still. "Get me your latest intelligence on the Kryn, their movements, dispositions, everything my staff needs to start planning now." Unsettling news. Cygnus fidgeted nervously before speaking again. "There is one more thing, Captain," he said hesitantly. "When we last tried to negotiate with the Kryn, they mentioned something strange. They claimed they knew about humanity, that this galaxy wasn't undefended." Logan went rigid at those words, A chill crawled up his spine as alarm bells rang in his mind. "They know about us?" he asked sharply. Cygnus spread his hands helplessly. "We truly don't know what they know about you or your history." As Logan left the council chamber behind him, unease settled heavily on his shoulders like an iron cloak. He couldn't shake off that creeping feeling. What did they know? And why did it matter now? Preparing for war. Back aboard Indomitable, Logan strode onto the bridge with purpose etched into every line of his face. He barely acknowledged salutes from crew members as he made a beeline for his command chair. "Status report." He barked at Commander Reeves, who snapped to attention immediately. "The task force is assembled and ready, sir," Reeves reported crisply. 3 battleships, 6 cruisers, and a dozen destroyers, all loaded for bear. "Good," Logan replied tersely as thoughts raced through his mind about what lay ahead. "Commander," he continued after a moment's pause, "dig into our archives going back to early human exploration. Look for any mention of a race called the Kryn Dominion or similar names." Reeves nodded sharply but frowned slightly at this unusual request. "They seem to know about us," Logan added grimly, "but I'll be damned if I know anything about them." As preparations continued around him, Logan felt an unsettling sense that they were stepping into something far greater than anyone could anticipate. A storm brewing on horizons, unseen yet looming ever closer as they prepared for battle against an enemy shrouded in mystery. This first part sets up an intense narrative, filled with tension and anticipation, while introducing key characters and conflicts that will unfold throughout this epic tale in space warfare against formidable foes. The decision to fight. The weight of choice. Captain Logan Simpson stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, staring at the tactical display, his heart pounding in his chest. The recent council meeting had left him with a heavy burden. He had agreed to deploy humanity's most powerful battleship, the Terror Fury, to assist the Emperor against the Kryn Dominion. The decision felt monumental, echoing with the weight of history. He knew that unleashing such power could lead to devastation, yet he also understood the urgency of their plight. "Captain, we're ready for departure," Commander Reeves announced, breaking Logan's reverie. The bridge crew was tense, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of control panels. Each member understood the gravity of their mission and the risks involved. Logan nodded, steeling himself for what lay ahead. "Set course for the Emperor homeworld," he commanded, "and prepare to engage warp drive on my mark." As the crew sprang into action, Logan took a moment to reflect on what this mission meant for humanity and its place in the galaxy. Flashbacks of war. Images flooded his mind, scenes from past battles, where humanity's might had left scars across countless worlds. He recalled the devastation wrought by human ships during previous conflicts. Entire civilizations reduced to ash. Planets rendered uninhabitable. The memories were haunting. They served as a reminder of what could happen if they lost control again. Logan shook his head, forcing himself to focus on the present. "We are not here to conquer," he reminded himself. "We are here to protect." But could he convince his crew, and the galaxy, that this time would be different? Gathering intelligence. As they approached the Emperor homeworld, Logan called for a briefing in the war room. The crew gathered around a holographic display that projected data on the Kryn fleet movements and their known capabilities. "Commander Reeves," Logan began, "what do we know about our enemy?" Reeves activated the display, revealing a series of diagrams and images of Kryn ships. "The Kryn have a formidable fleet, Captain. Their dreadnoughts are heavily armored and equipped with energy weapons that can penetrate our shields with ease. They've been advancing steadily toward Emperor territory." Logan frowned as he studied the data. "What about their tactics? Have we identified any weaknesses?" Lieutenant Kato, stationed at the intelligence console, chimed in. "We've analyzed their previous engagements and noted that they tend to favor aggressive frontal assaults. They rely on overwhelming firepower rather than strategy." "Then we'll use that against them," Logan said decisively. "If they charge at us head-on, We can set traps and ambush them. A plan in motion. The crew began brainstorming tactics and strategies to counteract the Kryn's brute force approach. Logan encouraged everyone to contribute ideas. He wanted them to feel invested in this mission. "Let's consider using our smaller ships as bait," suggested Lieutenant Cato. "We can draw them into a vulnerable position, while our heavier ships flank them." Logan nodded appreciatively at her suggestion. "That could work. We'll need precise coordination between our ships to pull it off effectively." As they finalized their battle plan, a sense of camaraderie began to form among the crew members. They were no longer just individuals following orders. They were part of something larger, a mission that could change the fate of countless lives. The calm before the storm. Hours later, as they neared Amper space, tension filled the air aboard Indomitable. Crew members moved with purpose, preparing weapons systems and running final checks on their ship's readiness. Logan stood at the viewport, gazing out into the vastness of space. Stars twinkled like distant hopes against an inky backdrop. He thought about what awaited them, potential destruction or salvation, and felt a surge of determination rise within him. "Captain," Commander Reeves interrupted his thoughts. "We're receiving a transmission from Admiral Hawkins." Logan turned to face Reeves as he activated the communication link. Hawkins's face appeared on screen, looking grave yet resolute. "Captain Simpson," Hawkins began without preamble, "I want you to remember why you're doing this. Protecting innocent lives is paramount." "I understand, Admiral," Logan replied firmly. "But I also know what humanity is capable of when pushed too far." Hawkins nodded solemnly. "Just tread carefully out there. The galaxy is watching." Entering Amper space. As they crossed into Amper territory, Logan felt a palpable shift in atmosphere among his crew. A mix of anxiety and anticipation hung in the air, like static electricity before a storm. "Prepare for battle stations," Logan ordered, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The ship hummed with activity as crew members took their positions at various consoles. The Indomitable was ready, its weapon systems were primed, and its shields charged. "Captain," Lieutenant Cato reported from her station, "we're detecting multiple Kryn vessels approaching from Sector 5. Logan's pulse quickened as he leaned closer to the tactical display. "How many?" "Initial scans indicate at least 5 dreadnoughts and several smaller support ships," Cato replied urgently. "Time until engagement?" Logan asked. "Approximately 10 minutes at current speed," she answered. "Then let's make sure we're ready for them," Logan said decisively. Rallying his crew. Before they engaged in battle, Logan gathered his officers for one last pep talk. He wanted to instill confidence and unity among his crew before facing an overwhelming enemy force. "Listen up," he called out as they assembled around him on the bridge. "We are about to face an enemy that has terrorized these people for too long. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every innocent life affected by their brutality." His words resonated through the room as he saw determination spark in their eyes. "We have trained for this moment. We are humanity's shield against tyranny. Remember our strategy. Use your instincts and trust each other. Together, we will turn this tide." Cheers erupted from his crew as adrenaline surged through them. A collective resolve ignited by hope and purpose. Into battle. The Indomitable surged forward into battle formation as they approached the Kryn fleet looming ahead like dark thunderclouds ready to unleash havoc upon Amper worlds. "Engage warp drive," Logan commanded with unwavering conviction. In an instant, stars blurred into streaks of light as they hurtled toward their adversaries at warp speed, each second bringing them closer to confrontation. As they dropped out of warp within striking distance of enemy lines, chaos erupted around them. Blasts lit up space like fireworks against darkness as both fleets unleashed their fury upon one another. Logan gripped his command chair tightly as he surveyed the battlefield unfolding before him. Ships darting like fireflies amidst explosions and laser fire. It was chaos incarnate yet exhilarating in its ferocity. The first engagement. "Captain, incoming fire." Cato shouted over alarms blaring throughout the bridge. "Brace for impact." Logan yelled back just before a jolt rocked their ship. A direct hit from one of the Kryn dreadnought's energy beams sent shudders through Indomitable's hull. "Shields holding at 70%, reported Commander Reeves through gritted teeth, while monitoring damage reports flashing across his console. Logan's heart raced as he assessed their position amidst swirling debris and enemy fire. It was time to act decisively if they were going to survive this encounter. "All hands, prepare weapons systems. Target their lead dreadnought," he ordered with fierce determination echoing through every word spoken. This was not just a battle, it was humanity's stand against oppression. As energy beams crackled through space toward them, like angry serpents, seeking vengeance against those who dared defy them, the fight had only just begun, and there would be no turning back now. This second part builds upon Captain Logan's resolve, while setting up strategic planning against an overwhelming enemy force, the Kryn Dominion, creating an atmosphere filled with tension and excitement leading directly into battle. Preparing for battle. The calm before the storm. The bridge of the Indomitable was a hive of activity, each crew member focused on their tasks as they prepared for the impending battle against the Kryn Dominion. Captain Logan Simpson stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the tactical display that flickered with data and projections. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, a palpable tension that hung in the air like the calm before a storm. "Captain, we're receiving updates from our reconnaissance teams," Lieutenant Cato reported, her fingers flying over her console. "They've confirmed multiple Kryn fleets converging on our position. We estimate their numbers to be twice ours." Logan felt a knot tighten in his stomach at the news. The Kryn were known for their ruthlessness, and if they were indeed doubling down on their assault, it meant they were ready for a fight. He turned to Commander Reeves, who was poring over the latest intelligence reports. "Commander," Logan said, his voice steady but laced with urgency, "what's our current status?" Reeves looked up, his expression serious. "Our shields are holding at 80%, but we've sustained minor damage from earlier skirmishes. We need to be ready for anything they throw at us." Rallying the crew, Logan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. He knew that this battle would not just determine the fate of the Emperor, it could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. With that thought in mind, he gathered his officers around him. "Listen up," he called out, commanding their attention. "We are about to face an enemy that has terrorized these people for too long. The Kryn think they can crush us underfoot as they have done to others. But we will show them what humanity is capable of." The crew nodded, determination etched across their faces. Logan could see their resolve hardening. They were ready to fight. "We have trained for this moment," he continued, pacing before them. "We are humanity's shield against tyranny. Remember our strategy. Use your instincts and trust each other. Together we will turn this tide." Cheers erupted from his officers as adrenaline surged through them, a collective resolve ignited by hope and purpose. Final preparations. As the crew dispersed to finalize their preparations, Logan took a moment to reflect on what lay ahead. He knew that every decision he made could lead to victory or disaster. He glanced at the tactical display again, noting the approaching Kryn ships growing larger on the screen. "Lieutenant Cato," he called out, "prepare our weapons systems for immediate engagement. I want all energy weapons charged and ready to fire." "Yes, Captain," Cato replied, her fingers dancing over her controls as she initiated weapon systems checks. Logan felt a sense of urgency wash over him as he moved back to his command chair. Time was slipping away, and every second counted. He knew that once they engaged with the Kryn forces, there would be no turning back. The first wave. As they approached the designated engagement zone near Emperor space, alarms blared throughout the ship. Logan's heart raced as he gripped the armrests of his chair tightly. "Captain, we have multiple contacts closing in fast," Cato shouted over the cacophony of warning signals. "On screen," Logan commanded. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a swarm of Kryn ships emerging from hyperspace, massive dreadnoughts bristling with weaponry, and smaller support vessels flanking them like wolves surrounding prey. "Prepare for battle," Logan shouted, adrenaline surging through him as he felt an electric thrill run down his spine. Engaging the enemy. The Indomitable surged forward into battle formation alongside its accompanying fleet, the Terror Fury leading the charge with its formidable presence, cutting through space like a knife through butter. "Engage warp drive," Logan ordered as they entered combat range. In an instant, stars blurred into streaks of light as they hurtled toward their adversaries at warp speed, each second bringing them closer to confrontation. As they dropped out of warp within striking distance of enemy lines, chaos erupted around them. Blasts lit up space like fireworks against darkness as both fleets unleashed their fury upon one another. "Captain, incoming fire," Cato shouted over alarms blaring throughout the bridge. "Brace for impact," Logan yelled back just before a jolt rocked their ship. A direct hit from one of the Kryn dreadnought's energy beams sent shudders through Indomitable's hull. "Shields holding at 70%, reported Commander Reeves through gritted teeth, while monitoring damage reports flashing across his console. Logan's heart raced as he assessed their position amidst swirling debris and enemy fire. It was time to act decisively if they were going to survive this encounter. "All hands, prepare weapon systems. Target their lead dreadnought," he ordered with fierce determination echoing through every word spoken. This was not just a battle. It was humanity's stand against oppression. The fight intensifies. The Indomitable surged forward into battle formation as they approached the Kryn fleet looming ahead like dark thunderclouds ready to unleash havoc upon amber worlds. "Fire at will," Logan commanded as energy beams crackled through space toward them, like angry serpents, seeking vengeance against those who dared defy them. The fight had only just begun, and there would be no turning back now. Across the human fleet, weapon systems roared to life as beams of pure energy shot forth from their cannons, striking true against enemy vessels and causing explosions that lit up space like fireworks on a dark night. Logan watched in awe as their tactics began to unfold. Human ingenuity was beginning to turn the tide against overwhelming odds, but even as victory seemed within reach, he knew better than to underestimate the Kryn. They were fierce warriors who would not yield easily. "Maintain formation," Logan shouted over the din of battle. He could see several human ships taking hits but still holding strong against relentless assaults from Kryn forces. A moment of reflection. As explosions lit up space around them, and alarms blared incessantly throughout Indomitable, Logan took a moment to reflect on what had led them here. The choices made by countless leaders before him that had shaped humanity's destiny among stars, filled with darkness and danger. He thought about how far they had come since those early days when humanity first ventured into space, how they had fought tooth and nail for every inch gained against alien threats, and how now they stood united against one more formidable foe, determined not just to conquer but annihilate everything in its path. "Captain," Cato interrupted his thoughts urgently. "We've lost contact with several ships in our formation." Logan's heart sank at her words. He knew that losses were inevitable in war, but hearing it made it all too real. Each ship lost represented lives snuffed out too soon by violence beyond comprehension. "Reeves," he said firmly despite feeling shaken inside, "we need to regroup our forces and assess damage immediately." "Yes, sir," Reeves replied quickly as he relayed orders across communication channels, while monitoring reports coming in from various ships still fighting valiantly against overwhelming odds. Regrouping forces. As human ships began forming up around Indomitable, Logan felt a renewed sense of hope wash over him. Their spirit remained unbroken despite suffering losses. "Prepare for another assault," Logan commanded once more. Determination coursed through him like fire, igniting passion within each crew member aboard. With weapons charged and shields reinforced once again, the human fleet surged forward into battle once more. this time fueled not just by desperation, but by unity forged through shared purpose. As beams of energy lit up space around them once again, a fierce resolve settled deep within Captain Logan Simpson's heart. No matter what happened next, they would fight until their last breath. This third part delves deeper into preparations for battle, while emphasizing camaraderie among crew members aboard Indomitable. It captures moments of tension and reflection amidst chaos, while highlighting themes of unity and resilience as humanity faces overwhelming odds against an unforgiving enemy force.